Hello, YouTube. We're back. I am Philip. This is my brother Andrew. We are joined by two special guests today. My office cat, which my daughter has affectionately named Other Tubbs, because I have a Tubbs at home. And then my amazing artist rendition of Rex the dog, because we're going to talk about pets. And Andrew, should you allow pets in your rental property?
Generally speaking, yes. There are exceptions, though. Although sometimes there are exceptions, you just have to.
Yes, that
like
is
the
correct.
law, if somebody has a seeing eye dog or a comfort animal, if they've got a letter from their doctor and whatnot, in most states you have to accept them.
Yeah, service animal. You can't charge extra money for them. You have to accept them.
Yeah, there's no pet rent, no pet deposits. This is something you'd want to talk to an attorney about. So in those cases, yes, you definitely want to. We highly recommend that you follow the law and not get sued. Generally speaking, you should accept pets as well, although it's not to make money through pet rent or pet deposits. Those are important, but that's not really the reason to do so. What would you say the reason is?
I mean, it depends on kind of what your situation is. The biggest thing to understand is just kind of the philosophy around pets and kind of how it works. They will cost the landlord money, time, and resources. They cause damages. They cause problems with trying to get into the property if there's unsecured dogs. Residents don't like you coming into the property as much. It's harder to get maintenance done.
Some dogs don't like strangers very much.
Correct. So they cause issues. Neighbors, if you have an apartment complex, a loud dog causes problems. So they are a net loss to a landlord. But don't think of it that way, because a lot of people have pets and a lot of people want to rent places.
Americans are basically obsessed with pets.
Yeah, and more so every day.
I mean, cats and dogs are pretty cool.
Yeah, I like cats. So, yeah, Americans love their pets, and there's a lot of people who aren't going to rent a place unless they're not going to give up their pet to rent a place.
Yeah, there's I remember some survey, 70% of Americans with dogs consider maybe it's 80% consider the dog to be a member of the family, so they're not giving up their pet to rent from you.
Correct.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you are restricting the number of people who will even consider your place substantially if you don't allow pets.
Which is basically lowering the demand for your property, and if supply remains the same and demand goes down, what's the only option? Price has to go down.
Or it stays vacant longer.
Which is essentially the same thing.
Basically, you get wrecked, so don't do it.
So, but again, it is a cost. So then do you just let anybody with a pet come in? No, we've come up with what we think is not an innovative solution, but an elegant solution. We charge for the right to have pets, because you can do that if it's not a service animal. Basically, what we charge is a $250 non-refundable pet fee. Now, you have to be careful state by state. That isn't always allowed.
Another thing to talk to a lawyer about.
Correct. We also charge $25 a month per pet. Up to 3 pets. We don't allow more than 3.
Make sure they know it's a pet fee, not a
correct.
deposit. Really stress that, especially when you're signing a lease, because they will not be particularly happy if they think that their deposit is not being refunded or even taken into account when you're going through the damages. Now, this is just a fee. Just being charged because I know that pets do damage. I mean, dogs are awesome, but they also make a mess, and they like to chew on things.
Now, if you want, you can do a pet deposit, knowing you might refund
that money.
You could do that,
yeah. I'm not
some
telling
states,
you to do a pet fee. I'm just recommending if you can, if the state allows it, to do a pet fee.
Yeah, and so we do the $250 a month just if you're going to have a cat or a dog, or $250 a fee if you're going to have a cat or a dog on the lease, and then $25 a month per pet. We only allow up to 3. Yeah. We don't have restrictions on sizes or anything, but we do have restrictions on a couple of what would be considered dangerous breeds: Rottweilers, Dobermans, Pit Bulls. Some cities don't even allow those. That's just to kind of keep our staff safe. There's a lot of great pit bulls out there, a lot of great stuff.
I have a friend with the sweetest pit bull you can imagine, but they have the capacity to be very dangerous.
Correct.
And so, unfortunately, we recommend not allowing dangerous breeds.
Because when you're renting to one person with a pit bull, you're, in a sense, potentially renting to any person with that.
And you don't want to deal with liability if something bad does happen.
Now, one thing we do allow, which kind of is a loophole within a loophole in a sense, is if somebody has a pit bull or something like that wants to rent for us, we do let them get a temperament test on the animal. And typically what that does is just makes them not go through the hoops and not get mad at us for not allowing it. Very occasionally they will, but usually if an owner of a pet is willing to go through those hoops, they're usually a good owner of the pet, and it doesn't cause any problems in general. But again, just because we allow that generally doesn't mean we allow that everywhere. So there are some situations where you just don't really want to allow pets at all.
No, I mean, there are times when even though there are times when allowing pets actually restricts your own market, and this is most notably in large apartment complexes, especially large apartment complexes with common areas. One dog that just will not stop barking is going to cause people to leave, or if people are seeing them, being shown their property and they just bark, it's like, hey, let's not do this one. So that if you have an area with regards to apartment complexes, we generally, I don't think there are any that we accept dogs at. Side-by-side duplexes.
Nope. So we go up to duplexes.
On a side-by-side duplex, we'll allow dogs. Now with apartments that don't have a common area, we accept cats.
One or two cats.
Yeah, one or two cats. So you have cats meandering around the place. Cats.
They're not as loud.
They can meow. They can
They
wake
do better
you
without
up,
a
but
yard.
They're unlikely. They can wake you up, but they're unlikely to wake your neighbor up.
Yeah.
And people don't literally see, like, you usually see a cat running around and be like, oh, this place is like sketchy. You don't have guard cats typically speaking. Sometimes tough dogs who bark a lot seem like they're there because the place gets robbed all the time. So there's a perception that comes along with that. So we generally accept cats in apartments with, especially if they don't have a common, they don't have common hallways, so you don't have cats.
They just have
everywhere,
exterior doors to all the apartments.
Litter everywhere, but like exterior doors coming in, we'll generally accept cats. I think you could conceivably accept one cat for apartments with common area. Maybe
you can
charge
make up
a
your
higher
own rule.
pet rent.
I mean, some people are so.
I don't think that's I don't think that's insane to do that.
No, it's not. I mean, again, you got to kind of figure out your own market. I know some large apartment complexes that allow dogs and they make it work. But again, we don't like to do that because it affects when you're in close living quarters. Noise can really affect neighbors, and dog owners are typically going to go for larger spaces, yards, fenced yards, because generally dogs.
That's
want
what
space too.
dogs like running around.
So you're also not expanding your rentable market as much when it's an apartment versus when you're renting a house.
But with regards to houses, I would generally always accept both cats and dogs. Now, of course, there is a bit of an urban, suburban, rural thing. If you're rural and you're renting a rural property and you're not accepting pets, you're just insane. Like, you're just really, really stupid.
Or you just don't want to deal with it too.
I mean, if you're suburban, it's the suburban dream, so to speak, is like this. It's like everything is the same. There's like Walmart, McDonald's, Quick Trip, and then you have like houses that are all the same, and you got like the picket fence and the driveway and the fenced yard, and you got the barbecue, and you have the dogs, and so it's like
this dog right here.
It really kind of needs to be there. And so suburban, urban areas when you're getting extremely dense. I mean, you city code. I mean, you might like HOA codes if you have a condo or things you need to look into. People still like their pets, but at that point it's a little bit more dicey. But in rural and suburban, I would absolutely accept. Remember, you have to have a policy that's across the board, but it can change by building.
Yes.
So you don't have to have the same policy for this apartment complex as that house in urban area and that's house out in the suburban area. You can change by those. You just can't have different policies for the same property.
Yes.
And so generally, houses, yes. These are all generally houses, yes. Duplexes, yes. Apartments with outdoor exits, maybe for cats. Apartments with common areas, probably not. Rural, yes. Suburban, yes. Urban, a little bit more. Probably, but be more careful.
And the idea is you're charging for these pets to basically cover the cost of the damage and the hassle. Yeah. So we don't feel like we're going to if someone has 3 dogs or 3 cats and paying $75 a month plus the $250 up front, we don't think we're making money from that. We're thinking the hassle and the damaged carpet and the damaged walls. A lot of tenants are going to pay us extra money because of that. They're going to end up paying a lot more than the damages. But the one tenant who has a cat that pees everywhere and damages the entire property, all the good pet owners end up paying for that one bad pet owner. So your risk is basically more varied, but overall it's kind of a wash in terms of time, hassle, money, and repairs. There's one last thing to talk about, which is exotic pets, snakes and mice and rats and guinea pigs. We generally just have a policy.
I'm not sure mice is that exotic,
but just different pets, because we only talked about the most common cats and dogs. Generally, we just kind of say no thank you because it's such a small market and it's not a big deal. Birds can get really loud. It's just generally, we don't really have much of a policy for
bird
it.
Is also like, birds gotta fly around. So
there's a stigma that bird people and snake people are weird. That doesn't necessarily mean bad, but it's just we kind of just go, it's such a small thing. We're just gonna say no, thank you. But that's a decision.
If they got a pet turtle, I'm not gonna oppose that. So it's like, they ask about that for an exception. I think you go on kind of a case by case basis, and of course the numbers we also charge should be different. Like if you're in Manhattan, you're probably gonna want to charge a higher than $25.
Although I don't know what the laws are in New York.
Of course, you gotta check the laws.
We only know our
too.
local laws, so.
And so, make sure to check the laws. Create a policy again with everything in property management, as we've said in previous videos. Check down here. It's all you create a policy. You build the policy as you go. Like you create as best you can, and then you keep every time you find a problem, you fix it, and you stick to it.
Yeah.
And so it's like that's the same with pets here, and that's you want to figure out what you're doing and stick with it.
Yep. So appreciate you guys watching. I know Tubbs really, really appreciate it. He wants you to subscribe. I know Rex also does because I'm an amazing artist, and you can tell that by my amazing drawing. But subscribe, like the video, comment, and we'll see you for the next one. Thank you guys.
Subscribe right meow.